Jack Doohan's Formula One future could be hanging by a thread, and this time it's not just about performance, it's about competition. Alpine, the team that's already locked him in for a 2025 seat alongside Pierre Gasly, may have second thoughts after a stunning rise from Williams rookie Franco Colapinto. The Argentine driver, who only got his first shot at F1 in the middle of this season, has impressed everyone since stepping in for Logan Sargeant at the Italian Grand Prix. In just 6 races, Colapinto has not only outperformed Sargeant, who failed to score a single point before his departure, but he's also put up a solid fight against teammate Alex Albon. Despite a lack of familiarity with most tracks, Colapinto has earned 5 points to Albon's 12, showing he's got real talent. This unexpected surge has caught the attention of the paddock, and now Alpine, with all its resources and ambitions, is eyeing him as a serious contender. It's not like Alpine needs a new driver. They've already signed Doohan for next year, and he's been with the team acting as their reserve driver and racking up miles in the older spec Alpine cars. On paper, Doohan's experience and connection to the team make him a reliable choice, but Colapinto's fresh F1 experience and impressive performances have definitely shaken things up a bit. Add to that Colapinto's marketability, with his rise in Argentina fueling a massive fan base that could attract even bigger sponsors, and the stakes just got a whole lot higher. Alpine's Flavio Briatore, ever the strategist, has reportedly done a 180 on his stance and is now keen on bringing Colapinto into the fold, potentially at the expense of Doohan. But let's face it, the thought of replacing Colapinto with Doohan might look like a lateral move on paper, but if Colapinto keeps up his form, the combination of F1 experience and sponsorship appeal might just make Doohan a risky option for Alpine. This is definitely a situation to watch closely, because if the reports are true, we could be witnessing the end of Jack Doohan's F1 dream before it even properly got started. Alpine, feeling the financial strain from parent company Renault's push for cost-cutting after years of mediocrity, sees the 21-year-old as an attractive prospect. Sure, he's a paid driver, but let's not forget that he's more than earned his spot in the conversation. After all, Alpine is facing a massive shake-up of its own, especially with the news that they'll be transitioning to a customer team in 2026. It's a shift that could make Colapinto a key piece of their puzzle moving forward, especially with the added bonus of a growing fan base in Argentina that could fuel those massive sponsorships. But there's a catch. He wouldn't come cheap. Colapinto's contract is reportedly expensive, and Alpine might be stretched too thin financially to compete with deeper pockets. Meanwhile, Williams, where Colapinto has already impressed, could look to keep him in the fold with a loan deal. This would be a smart move for team boss James Vowles, who's open to keeping the rookie around just in case there's instability further up the grid. If Carlos Sainz or Alex Albon lose faith in the team's progress, a loan move could keep Colapinto in play, especially as Williams looks to make a big step forward in 2026 under the new rules. But if we're being real, Alpine isn't the only one eyeing the talented Argentine. Red Bull, always with an eye for talent, has also now entered the mix, and they're in a much better position to snap him up. Why? Well, Red Bull's current driver lineup is full of uncertainty. Sergio Perez, after months of disappointing performances, is likely on his way out sooner rather than later. His failure to help secure a Constructors' Championship for the team has placed him squarely under the microscope. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen, though at the top of his game, has been linked to a potential move away from Red Bull, possibly to Mercedes, especially as key members of the team exit for greener pastures. And Yuki Tsunoda, with Honda leaving to become Aston Martin's work supplier in 2026, his future with Red Bull doesn't look too promising either. Suddenly, Red Bull might find themselves with 3 open seats within 2 years. This is where Colapinto might come in. With Red Bull's development program in flux and their top driver positions under question, they need to secure young talent like Colapinto now. It's been suggested that Colapinto could even replace Perez next season, skipping a stint in Formula 2 entirely. Red Bull knows that Colapinto's performances have been solid, and importantly, he's matched teammate Albon, one of Red Bull's own alumni, in terms of results. This makes him a prime candidate for a seat, especially as the Red Bull family looks to make some major changes in the coming seasons. But let's be honest here, the Red Bull seat is most likely secured for Lawson, and internal figures seem to hint at the deal being done. Helmut Marko's praise for Liam Lawson after his solid performances in the United States and Mexico City Grand Prix isn't just a routine compliment, it's part of a broader high-stakes evaluation process within Red Bull Racing. Lawson, who replaced Daniel Ricciardo at Red Bull's sister team VCARB in Austin, is making waves as a serious contender to replace Sergio Perez for the 2025 season. This development comes amid Red Bull's growing concerns about Perez's performance, especially since the mid-season break, where Perez's struggles with the RB20 became increasingly evident. Marko has been clear. Red Bull is actively evaluating its pool of drivers, and Lawson is in the spotlight. After Perez's recent underperformance, particularly his disastrous 18th place qualification at his home Grand Prix in Mexico and his inability to move up significantly during the race, Red Bull's leadership has become more urgent in its search for a potential backup. Despite Perez's past success with the team, the gulf in performance between him and Max Verstappen has raised questions about his future. Lawson, in stark contrast, has shown remarkable resilience. Starting in P19 at the Circuit of the Americas after a power unit penalty, the 22-year-old Kiwi fought back to finish in an impressive 9th place. Marko was notably impressed by his progress, even suggesting that Lawson's qualifying performance in Mexico could have been even stronger had it not been for the botched lap by teammate Yuki Tsunoda. Lawson's consistent growth and ability to outperform expectations in challenging conditions seem to have won him the trust of Red Bull's top brass. While Marko's words might seem like praise for Lawson's talents, they also carry a deeper implication. Red Bull might be considering a driver swap sooner rather than later. The team has already shown its willingness to make changes when performance slips. Ricciardo's underwhelming stint at VCARB, which ended with his departure after the Singapore Grand Prix, definitely proved that. Lawson's emergence as a viable option only adds to the pressure on Perez to turn things around. But the stakes go beyond just Perez. Red Bull's leadership is facing scrutiny after losing its Constructors' Championship lead to McLaren, followed by a rapid ascent from Ferrari. If Red Bull is to maintain its dominance, they need a second driver capable of keeping pace with Verstappen. Given Perez's struggles, Lawson's name is now firmly on the radar, potentially positioning him alongside the reigning 3-time world champion in 2025. Now, here's where things get even juicier. Red Bull's internal politics. Christian Horner and Helmut Marko, as the key figures in Red Bull's F1 program, have been leading two opposing factions, each with their own approach to team management and driver development. Earlier this year, tensions between them boiled over into the open. Marko is traditionally known for his cutthroat, no-nonsense approach to driver selection, while Horner's more diplomatic stance has often clashed with Marko's tougher choices. If Colapinto were to take the seat instead of the established Red Bull juniors, it would be a significant blow to Marko's side of the operation, reinforcing the belief that Red Bull's driver program isn't as foolproof as it once seemed. And let's not forget Jos Verstappen, Max's father, who's firmly in Marko's camp. Jos has come out publicly to support Lawson's potential rise to Red Bull, insisting that the Kiwi is more than ready to step up. According to Jos, it's only a matter of time before Lawson takes the seat, and he believes that the team needs someone who would challenge Max and push him further. The idea is that having a competitive teammate would keep Verstappen on his toes, preventing him from coasting through the season. If Sergio Perez is to leave Red Bull, it could very well mark the end of his Formula One career. Despite his early successes, Perez has struggled to match Max Verstappen's dominance at Red Bull, leaving his future uncertain. With no obvious openings at other top teams, his departure would likely end his time in the sport, as other teams aren't in a position to take on a driver who's been inconsistent in recent seasons. Looking to the future, Isaac Hadjar and Franco Colapinto are both strong contenders for Racing Bull's second seat. If Lawson ends up taking the Perez seat and Colapinto stays at Williams, Hadjar's future at Racing Bulls is more than secure. Could Alpine's gamble on Colapinto spell disaster for Doohan, or will the Australian hold on to his seat? Drop your thoughts below and make sure to check out the latest updates on this ongoing driver saga.